Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our playthrough of Mecha Ace, Heroes of the Vedrian War. This is a text-based choose-your-own-adventure story, and I will be narrating it, so let's begin. This first decision, of course, does not matter. I'm going to leave it at randomized just so that I don't know anything about the game, so here we go. Episode 1. A Struggle Amidst the Stars. The Battle for Vedria Prime. Orbit over Vedria Prime. Vedria System. 419 Interstellar Era. You pull back on the throttle as the battered Imperial combat armature in your sights begins to glow with the telltale light of a core breach. You shift your weight in your seat, your skin-tight pilot suit stretching as your own mecha controls register your movement. Your multi-ton war machine halts just meters in front of the stricken enemy machine at the commands of your flesh and blood body inside the cockpit. With a twist of your legs, your control interface sends the 12 metric tons of your combat armature's leg crashing into the disintegrating enemy machine, sending it careening off the middle of the enemy formation. With a brilliant, self-annihilating flash, the crippled machine's matter-antimatter core goes critical, taking 2 other hostiles with it. Around you, more enemy machines die as allied mecha pour supporting fire into them, exploiting the hole torn in the enemy formation by your attack. Command has been wise to choose you to lead the attack, for you were an elite ace with 60 kills. Now you have 63. The formation shattered, the enemy advance guard flees for their safety of their distant support vessels. Behind you, the main body of your fleet moves up to press the attack, allowing you and your fellow pilots in the advance guard to regroup. You scan your tactical display, hoping to find and rendezvous with your unit. Instead, you find 3 dim energy readings ahead of you, each with a telltale signature of escape pods. What do you do? We are going to... For this run-through, we are going to play the straight-up hero ace good guy. I think I'm going to play through this game 3 times over the course of the next few months, each taking a completely different route. But we're going to go soldier, not a murderer. You lower your machine's weapons as you watch the 3 Imperial pilots escape to the safety of their fleet's defensive fire. The past 5 years of war between Earth and her colonies have been a traumatizing experience for humanity's collective psyche. You have seen those men and women whose good hearts have been broken by the slaughter, those who could wreak death and destruction without a second thought simply because they no longer saw it as something monstrous. The escape pods of your vanquished opponents disappear off the edge of your sensor display. You breathe a sigh. You are glad that you are not one of them. A voice brings you out of your pensive mood and into the here and now. Are you just going to let them get away like that, boss? The window of your comm screen displays the image of a black-haired young woman with full cherry lips, a snub nose, and skin the color of milk tea, her brow furrowed in frustration. Ensign Fatima Asida, your wingman, possessed of undoubted talent and the instincts of a natural hunter, but vicious, far too vicious for her own good. You look your wingman in the eye. It doesn't matter if they're enemies or not, Asidi. Killing helpless men and women isn't war, it's murder. Asidi gives a sigh of resignation, as if she were your commanding officer instead of the other way around. I'll have to take your word for it. Oh, sir or ma'am? I guess we'll go with sir. You nod your head. I'm glad I've made myself clear, Sadie, you say, as you look over your main display beyond your wingman's face and at the battle still raging before you, high above Vedria Prime surface. Half a decade of war has honed your ability to pick out a friend from foe to a razor's edge. Within seconds, you are able to pick out the friendly warships and combat armature units of the fleet as they open up against the main body of the hated enemy. They, like you, fight for the coalition of democratic extrasolar colonies, an alliance of human colonies fighting for the independence from the growing tyranny of old Earth's empire of humanity ascendants. The rebellion itself has been centuries in the making. While the human species has needed strong central authority to govern it during the first uncertain decades of interstellar colonization, the organization that would become the Empire did not adapt to the changing realities as Earth's colonies grew into powers in their own right. Ultimately, the result had been a government who claimed to speak for all of humanity, but one which concentrated all power in 1/7 of the human race that lived within humanity's home system. Instead of delegating power to the ascendant colonies, old Earth had sought to rein in its growing children with increasingly restrictive policies. When the outer colonies protested, the Empress and her court responded by stripping entire worlds of their charters and ruling by decree. After that, open rebellion had only been a matter of time. In the early days of the rebellion, the forces of Earth's rebelling colonies had been poorly organized and armed with nothing more than improvised weapons, warships, and combat armatures. You had been one of the first volunteers. The moment the concept of colonial revolution became something more concrete, you joined up with the newborn rebellion's ragtag armed forces. You had only one thing on your mind that day, and you joined the Codex military as a combat armature pilot for one reason. We are the hero, so... Duty to defend? To shield those dear to me from the destruction of war. I think that's heroic. Ultimately, it wasn't faith in a cause or any burning ambition that spurred you to volunteer, but the grim knowledge of what would happen should the rebellion fail. You knew full well that the civil war would soon to begin would be one fought with devastating weapons and destructive machines. The systems which served as battlefields for the campaigns had yet to begin would soon be filled with burning wreckage. Its cities would be reduced to ruins by orbital bombardment, its people starved by the cutting off of trade, its psyche shattered by the constant and ever-present specter of death on a mass scale. As a resident of one of those systems furthest away from the fighting, you knew that your family and friends would only be safe if the enemy were kept as far away from your home as possible. It was for that reason you joined Kodak, to protect the lives of your family, friends, and neighbors. Over the next 5 long years of war, you watched Kodak's military turn into a cohesive fighting force capable of fighting the Imperial war machine on even terms. During that time, you even became one of Kodak's most elite pilots, most famously known for... are we an ace, a protector, our passion, or reliability? I think we're going to be the ace. We took out 3 warships on our own. 3 years ago, the Imperials had tried to take the Viridia system for the first time. Only instead of attacking the system's planet, they had tried to take the Crown Station, the massive space station which guarded the link between Viridia and the other Kodak worlds. You had been a part of Kodak's main fleet at the time, which meant that you had been caught in the hardest of the fighting. It was there you were able to penetrate the Imperial fleet's screen in a mad dash forward and take down 3 enemy warships, including one of their prized Marshall-class carriers. Kodak High Command gave you a medal, a promotion, and your own lance after that. Not bad for a singles day of work. With the other 5 combat armatures of your lance rallying behind your machine, you look for a target of opportunity, an opportunity to throw your unit back into the fight. Your keen eyes soon find one. The telltale thruster trails of an Imperial M401 Fantas, the most basic combat armature still fielded by the Imperial military. There were perhaps 24 in all, moving forward in an attempt to outflank the advancing Kodak fleet. You turn to your wingman again. She meets your gaze, a vicious grin on her lips. It is clear that she has seen the same opportunity you have. More work, boss man? You nod. More work. Pilots, rally on me and prepare to attack. You look around your cockpit, going through the practice motions of a pre-combat check. You know that Asadi and the other members of your lance will be doing the same. For them, such a check would be a formality, but you've just come out of a battle, and you want to go through every item on the checklist in earnest, looking for minor damage from your previous skirmish, mechanical failure alerts, or any other pressing issues. Finally, you ensure that your machine's primary weapon is in working order. You quickly check the... do I check my rifle, my sword, or my autocannon? We are going to try and be... Oh, do we want to be a sniper or a swordsman? That's the real question here. I like the idea of a long-range particle rifle. You pull back the bolt on the massive particle rifle, an action which has become almost instinctual after 5 years as a combat armature pilot. You watch as the heat sink unit flies free from the main body of the weapon, letting the excess heat vent into the black void of space. With a single fluid movement, you cycle the bolt and chamber a new heat sink. Though power-hungry and slow to reload, your CA-95 Manningham's particle rifle is powerful enough to pierce the heaviest of armor, and accurate enough to be effective against mecha and starships. The combination of the Manningham's long-range attack capability and your own finely honed skills have made you one of Kodak's premier aces over the year, a reputation which grows with every battle. Of course, it helps that your machine isn't exactly factory standard. Over the years, you've made a few modifications to your increasingly obsolete mecha. At first, they were just a few minor touches. New cockpit display, a climate control unit, leather upholstery, stuff like that. It wasn't until you scored your 25th kill in the 3rd year of the war that Command had given you permission to order the customizations that you had really wanted. Namely... upgraded thrusters, sensors, armor, or a custom paint job. Let's keep ourselves agile here. The modification hadn't even ended up being particularly drastic. All the tech crews really had to do was install new thruster nozzles capable of holding up under higher temperatures and removing the reactor governors. The result was a more powerful thruster system, which allows you to take advantage of your formidable piloting skills to their fullest extent. "This is Lead," you report, "ready for battle." "This is 2, Sadie responds, her voice cocky as ever. "Locked, loaded, and ready to roll." After your wingmen, the other 4 pilots of your lance report themselves ready for a battle as well. The whole process takes mere moments. The unit is comprised of some of Kodak's best, most promising pilots, each eager to prove their mettle alongside a famed ace such as yourself. By following your example over the 2 years you've led them, their strengths have become their strengths. Unfortunately, your weaknesses have become theirs as well. In a way, perhaps, they are disciples of your own, unique combat style. Like every lance in the Kodak military, your unit has a distinctive name, one you picked yourself. Something more original than that. I like the idea of Mithril Lance. Alright, Mithril Lance, form up and follow my lead. Your unit forms behind your combat armature with the grace of a ballet. They fly newer machines than your trusty old Manningham, CA-108 Grenzers and CA-109 Raetors. Raetors. Model superior to your own, but strange and over-complex to pilots that are used to the simplicity of Kodak's first generation of combat armatures. With your lance now flying in readiness behind your machine, you request authorization to begin attack. "Caliburn, this is Mithril Lead. Copy?" You glance at the lean, knife-like hull of the CWS Caliburn as you send your message. The ship is almost brand new, one of Kodak's first purpose-built warships, a far cry from the hastily armed freighters and makeshift carriers you've spent most of the war on. A moment later, you get a reply. "This is Caliburn Actual," barks a brusque contralto. "What do you want, Mithril Lead?" You wince a little bit at the hard tone of the other line. Captain Balin of the Caliburn may be an excellent soldier and a tactical genius, but her interpersonal skills leave much to be desired. Caliburn, requesting permission to attack contacts marked Delta 5-2 on scope, About 20 or so, mostly Fantas. Granted, Mithro lead. Good hunting. Received and acknowledged, Calburn. Actual, out. You remain expressionless as you open the throttle and fly towards your targets. You take little joy in this endless killing, but there is a job to be done. As you approach the enemy formation, your keen tactician's mind takes over. Honed to a fine edge over dozens of battles, skirmishes, and duels, you pick out your options even as your machine advances on the Imperial force at top speed. The most obvious choice would be to hit the enemy head-on, but such a move would put you at the head of your formation, where you will draw the most fire and stand the most chance of colliding into an enemy machine. You would need an iron will and nerves of titanium to do such a thing. Alternatively, you could attack the enemy commander first, relying on superior piloting skill to quickly destroy or disable his machine, leaving his subordinates confused and uncoordinated. Another option would be to find a weak point in the enemy's formation and exploit it, something that would need excellent situational and tactical awareness. Lastly, you could attempt to strike fear into the enemy by hitting them with a showy, intimidating first strike. You would need one hell of a flair for the melodramatic to sell it, but it might just make the enemy hesitate long enough for you and your unit to win the fight. Ultimately, you decide your play to your strengths, and choose to... I think we're going to straight up be challenger here. We were going to rely on our brilliant skills to take out the commander. You pick out the enemy commander easily enough. Imperial Command variant mecha are hardly inconspicuous with their gold trim and ostentatious ornamentation. Alright, Mithril Lance, I'll take out their command unit. When you see him go down, follow me in. You dial down your throttle, simply letting simple inertia carry you towards the enemy unit. Your own subordinates follow behind, keeping a similarly low profile. You are within almost weapons range when the enemy spots your machine. You power up your thrusters as the Imperials throw a hasty wall of defensive fire. Your machine twists and dances through the storm of enemy bullets, twirling through the firestorm at your skilled command. The enemy fire grows wilder and more panicked as you careen ever closer, but you are the master of your craft and they cannot stop you. The enemy command unit rushes to engage you with its melee weapons as you close, but you are ready. Before they can attempt to strike your machine, you punch your thrusters and sail over the enemy suit with impossible agility. You bring your particle rifle to bear and squeeze the trigger before your enemy can even turn his machine around. With the commander out of the fight, the Imperial formation loses cohesion, just in time for the remaining 5 mecha of Mithril Lance to join the battle, guns blazing. That looked like we did good there. Your mecha rifle's particle isn't meant to be used in close melee like this, but at this point you have little choice. The battle around you devolves into a confusing, high-speed brawl, as the enemies around you desperately maneuver to get close to melee range, while keeping out of your weapon's line of fire. Few succeed. One by one, you lure or chase all the enemy units in before your sights. One by one, they die in a bright cataclysm of charged particles and vaporizing metal. All around you, your unit fights with the skill and ferocity you have come to expect of them. Slowly, the Imperial defense begins to crumble. However, just as the tides are turning in your favor, your fatal weakness rears its ugly head. You are... Oh, well, we aren't outmaneuvered by a superior enemy pilot. That's good. What is our fatal weakness? I think we're getting the combat I think we're getting the combat shakes. Yeah, because we can overcome that. You did not even notice it at first, the shaking in your hands and the trembling in your legs. It is only with each lightning-quick clash of fire and exotic matter that your limbs begin to feel weaker, and the controls at your fingertips begin to feel heavy and sluggish. When you notice the distinctive sound of your teeth grinding against each other, your focus escapes you completely. "Not now, damn it, not now!" you growl at yourself as your hands freeze the controls. Half a decade of constant battle has taken its toll on your mind and will. Keeping in close company with death and destruction have frayed your nerves to the point where you never know when your resolve may falter. The trembling in your limbs begins in earnest when you see an Imperial machine turn towards you, clearly planning to take advantage of your disordered state. The prospect of imminent death does not improve matters. The grinding of your teeth grows louder as you desperately try to regain your focus. Suddenly, your opponent is taken down by a hail of auto-fire cannon. The shakes begin to fade as you see Mithril 4 and Mithril 6 take positions to cover you. "Boss," Mithril 4's voice is steady but worried. She's had to deal with your rare combat breakdowns before. "Are you alright?" You take a deep breath as you feel your hand steady. "Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks for the assist." With your head clear, you take another look at your sensor display, only to find it devoid of enemies. "Mithril Lance, I'm not reading any hostiles on scope. Confirm?" One by one, the faces of your lancemen appear on the communications display. Each of them confirms. There are no enemies left within sensor range. Maybe we got them all? Mithril 6 theorizes, with only the barest hint of conviction. "I got one." "So did I," Mithril 3 chirps cheerfully. Asadi seems smug. "I got 3. She turns to you. "How many did you get, boss?" You think for a moment. 6? Maybe 7? Somewhere in that area, I guess. Your wingman's expression is not amused. You can tell she was going to relish the day when she matches you kill for kill. In the meantime, you have a dozen enemy machines unaccounted for. A moment later, another message comes in. It's the Caliburn. You open the comm line. The faces of your 5 lancemates are replaced by Captain Balin's stern, battle-scarred scowl. Mithril Lead, status report. "Engage the enemy. No losses on our end, but... Let me guess, the enemy forces just up and disappeared on you?" You nod. The captain responds with a look that might as well have said, "I thought as much." Our sensor logs tracked about a half a dozen of them breaking off right after your lance hit them. They linked up with another lance and dropped planetside. Apparently they're headed for a high-priority objective on the planet's surface. Your new orders are to go in after them and secure that objective. I'm sending you the coordinates now. Coordinates point to a civilian district, with not a single known military target within 100 kilometers. "Captain, what exactly are you sending us into?" Balin shakes her head sharply. You're not cleared to know. "That's bullshit," you blurt out. "You're just going to send us in blind?" The captain fixes you with a stern look. "Mithril Lead, I'm not even cleared to know. Just get it done. Caliber action, out." Well, that was hardly helpful. "What was that about?" Asadi asks as you reopen comms with your lance. "New orders," you reply. "Rig up for re-entry. I'm sending you the coordinates." Asadi's face lights up in anticipation. "More fighting, boss?" Not all of your lancemates share your wingman's enthusiasm. Some of them seem nervous. Mithril 5 even seems outright disgusted by Asadi's eagerness. How do you respond? We earlier said we don't want to kill. So I think we're reluctant. I hope not. I think I've spilled enough blood for one day. Your wingman shoots you a malicious little grin. I could stand to spill a little more. One by one, the members of your lance report themselves ready for atmospheric drop. Your main display shuts off, obscured by the layer of ablative heat gel which will protect your combat armature from the heat of re-entry. You position your machine over the drop coordinates, flying on sensors alone. Recommencing re-entry, you announce, "Mithril Lance, follow me in." With that, you and your lance begin to descend onto Viridia Prime's atmosphere. And with that, we will call it a part. Tune in next time for episode 2.